Mirthwood just launched and it's a beautiful immersive world. But I have to admit, my first playthrough had its fair share of surprises. They weren't deal breakers, the game is fantastic. But knowing a few things up front would have saved me some early gameplay headaches. Today, I'll share tips to help you avoid my slip-ups and enjoy a smoother start. Just a heads up though, that the game just released and there may be some ongoing balancing in the game. But don't worry, should there be any updates, I'll let you know in the comments below. So let's jump right into my first mistake. And that is not taking care of animals sooner. And you get to catch them in one of the early quests too. To be honest, at first it took me a while to make money, so I didn't really pay much attention to the ranch animals being sold early on. Especially since I thought that to take care of animals, you would need a coop or barn, and a windmill for animal feed, all of which needed a lot of materials to create. But to my surprise, you actually don't need anything. The animals you purchase can live off of your land as long as there's grass. They will, however, be sad though whenever it's raining and they don't have a roof over their heads, so try your best to craft at least the animal or chicken stalls. My early recommendation is to get one female chicken first, then the rooster right away. The female chicken will lay eggs every day, while the rooster will ensure you get a chick around every 4 days, if I'm not mistaken. Eggs can be cooked and eaten or sold, perfect for early food or money. While the chicks can grow into female chickens, which will lay more eggs or can be butchered for around 13 raw chicken, which can also be cooked to be eaten or sold. The best part is that animal shelters are not required to breed or lay eggs, so it's perfectly beginner friendly. And speaking of animals, another mistake I made was not buying a horse early on. I know the price is quite hefty when you're just starting out, but I assure you, especially if you're playing this game for the exploration, the investment is worth it. The freelance in Mirthwood is a whole lot to cover, and it will take you a long time to complete if you're just on foot. There are fast travels in the game, but the camps aren't just near enough, at least for me. The horse will save you a lot of time and also help a lot when running from monsters or bandits. My favorite part is that you can call your horse from anywhere by holding down X for keyboard. It also works at camps right after you fast travel. If that doesn't work, try reloading your game, that usually fixes it. Oh, and if you want to upgrade, there's a unicorn for sale at Fernfoot's place, the guy who increases your inventory and skill slot, for a lot more money. But hey, it looks more mystical. Speaking of upgrades, my next mistake was not upgrading tools as soon as you can. I know, it's one of the most obvious next steps you can do when starting out any game that is similar to this. But hear me out. I didn't know where to get iron, which is the material needed for the first upgrade. I went all up into the mines and didn't find any to my dismay. Then I found out that there's actually a book stating where to get the semi-early resources. You can find it in your journal, then books, and read a guide to resources. So note to self, try your best in reading and absorbing what the letters and books that are scattered around the world say. So you can find iron ores at Mirkwater Marsh. You would need 5 to make an iron bar using the furnace. To upgrade a tool, you would need 10 iron bars, the lower level tool, and the upgrade kit which you can buy from the blacksmiths. As you travel the world, you can encounter more blacksmiths, where you can buy more iron ores, especially if going to the Mirkwater Marsh is much of a hassle for you. With a fast travel and a horse, doing so would be quick and easy. Another mistake I did early on is not placing chests near crafting stations. At the start, I was definitely confused on how this worked because some of my crafting tools seem to have a global inventory, meaning it gets from the storage or chest, while some had to be on hand or in my inventory. And what I later found out was that my chest was near some crafting tools, while some not so near. So whenever you're decorating your farm, do consider the placement of your storage. It doesn't have to be right beside the crafting tools, maybe about 4 or 5 slots away. This will not only save you inventory, but especially your time every time you craft items and artisan goods. And just so we're on the same page, crafting tools could be any station, from the workbench to the anvils, the kegs, anything that could produce an item. My next mistake is not crafting a better bow early. I have to admit, combat is just not what I'm good at in these kinds of games. So I'm glad that there's a bow option. The range really helps me in not taking any hits from the enemies. However, it does take me time to take them down, especially with the free bow. And what I did not know is that it's actually pretty easy to craft the next better bow. You buy the recipe at the blacksmith's and craft it using the anvil, similar to upgrading your tools. For this specific bow, you would need 50 hardwood and 5 iron bar. And with the upgraded tools we've mentioned earlier, it's actually pretty easy to acquire them now. You can get hardwood from the stumps scattered all over your farm, and I find that it's pretty quick to respawn and it's usually at the same spot. If you're having a hard time though, you can always access the west side of your farm. Just break this rock with your iron pickaxe and you'll find about 5 stumps for hardwood. You can chop the stumps using an iron axe. Oh, and just a heads up if you prefer using swords, there's a free iron sword at the lower left corner of the map. Be warned though that there are aggros in the area, so sprint like your life depends on it. Another mistake I made is not making use of the exploding barrels. Combat is hard, and more so if multiple enemies are trying to attack you. I usually just flee if this happens, but what I didn't know is that these red barrels are actually explosives. And if done right, can actually cause significant damage to your enemies. Done right because if you're within range, you'll also take damage. To trigger this, just shoot with one of your arrows, and once it hits the barrel, it will instantly cause an explosion. Remember to be strategic and lure your enemies near the barrel with you being a bit far away from it. And it's pretty instantaneous. If it doesn't take out your enemies, make sure you're ready for your next shot, else your enemies will continue pursuing you. Then we have the tiniest mistake I made, but with a huge impact. Me not using the map markers. Honestly, there's just so many quests that we can trigger and accept right off the bat, and some are pretty easy to understand and get to, like the farm, the meadery, and so forth. What I didn't know was that there were actually markers on the map showing the area where you can trigger the next steps of the quest. Unfortunately, it did take me a while to discover this. For the yellow marker to show in the map, you need to set the specific quest as the active quest. Not only will this spin the quest and appear on your screen to remind you, and depending on the quest, the yellow marker will show up on the map. The area is still a bit too wide for my preference, but it still helps a ton. Moving on to a bonus item, a minor oversight of mine was not updating my settings. With combat not being my forte, I wish I'd remembered that there was some form of gameplay customization in the game. You can go to the settings by pressing escape for keyboard in the game. Here, you can toggle if you want easier combat. Does hunger drain too fast? You can toggle survivability here as well. Aside from that, you can also change the settings of the master volume, where you can change how loud the game is, and the UI scaling, where you can increase the size of the screens and icons in the game. We've been mentioning the fast travel feature, which I've actually discussed in an earlier video. Here, I shared a few tips I wish I'd known earlier, as well as how to make money in the early stages. They're bound to make your Mirthwood journey easier and even more enjoyable. See you there and stay awesome!